When you want to be sharp, there are a few things that you can do or stop doing to have your brain and your mind the sharpest possible for a particular situation. Now, practitioners, for example, need to be sharp when they've got a client that is telling them a lot about their life and their habits. You kind of have to listen to a lot of information and be able to pick up on small things hidden within lots of noise, so signal to noise ratio and filtering. And you also need to be social, you need to be having the right tone. There's a lot of things you have to manage, and being sharp is very important in many situations. Now, there are a few things that you can do to help with that. Depending on who you are, like your constitution, each person is completely unique. Some of these may be more important for you and some may be less important. So there's no particular order in this list. So the first one is you want your brain to have a pause before entering into a situation where you need to be sharp. It's a bit like a palate cleanser. Like if you're going to go to a wine tasting or a coffee tasting competition, you don't want to go to McDonald's before, like having to go into an environment or try and stimulate all of your senses just before going into a situation where you need to be sharp. What you can do is have a quiet, relax, deep breathing, and it's hard to stop the mind from functioning, but what you can do is maybe reduce the importance of what your mind is coming up with. So be an observer of your thoughts. So these are like meditation techniques. But what you're doing is being in a quiet environment and reducing your brain functions. Coupled with that is your senses. So actually try and turn off music or have music that doesn't stimulate you. For some people, a little bit of music, elevator music or like classical music, something that doesn't stimulate. Don't look at things with your eyes, don't look at screens, don't look at things that move. So it's all about being quiet and relaxing and breathing. Another aspect is your fuel. So your body is constantly using up nutrients and you want to have the right nutrients so that your brain is well prepared to be functioning at a high rate. And your brain does need a lot of energy. Many years ago, I used to do mountain biking. There was a particular pass through some steep hills. This is in the south of Wales. And there was a particular track that we would go down one way, but we had to come back up on the return journey. And there were a lot of big boulders, big stones that we had to navigate. And it was a steep uphill. And I noticed that if I was focusing too much on how to manage my bike, I would run out of steam in my legs. And if I was paying not enough attention to the boulders and I was more trying to be quiet in my head and giving my legs the energy, I would hit too many boulders and that would slow me down. That made me realize how much the brain is actually using up that energy. So you need enough energy, so you need enough glucose, you need enough nutrients or ketones in some situations. Having too much is actually going to give you the opposite effect. So if you have a glucose spike, it will create too much energy for you to manage. It's not giving you the right type of fuel that your brain wants. What I noticed, this is particularly when I was doing exams, the fuel that seemed to work best for my brain was having an avocado or some fruit, but the avocado for some reason seemed to be the best. So you want to have enough fuel in your body. So don't kind of have important meetings right before lunch. It also has an effect on your emotions if you haven't got the right fuel. I think there was a study done where they noticed how judges were judging people in their courtroom. And if it was just before lunch, they would give out much harsher sentences to people. And it was the only factor that changed was the fact that they hadn't eaten. So just be aware of your nutrition will affect you quite strongly sometimes. Next one is being aware of your constitution. So in Ayurveda, we talk about Vata, Pitta, Kapha. There are some constitutions that will favor a certain environment. So for example, let's go straight into detail. So if you're a Vata constitution, it's like based on the elements of air and ether, You don't really want to be in a cold or windy environment. So going outside when it's windy, that's not actually going to be very good for you. However, if you are a kapha person, which is more solid, a brisk walk outside is actually probably something that's beneficial. It will kind of freshen you up. It will up your energy levels. And a pitta person, they have to be careful to not be in an environment that's too hot. Sometimes a bit of fresh air is good. Sometimes wind, like a busy environment for pitta, isn't also that good. But the main thing is not being too hot. Having enough hydration is also important. So make sure that you're drinking enough. I would caution against stimulating drinks. So coffee can sometimes be good for some people, depending on your constitution again, and also what time of the day it is. So coffee can be good, but you kind of know that if you're a coffee drinker, there is a point where more isn't actually better and actually can make you less capable of using your mind in a sharp way. It will give you the jitters and it will actually make you more distractible. So be careful with the stimulating drinks, but just make sure you've got enough hydration. Next one is what's happening in your environment that's pulling on you. If you, for example, have an important meeting and you've had to park in a place where you could potentially get a parking ticket, that's like a little background app that's running and chewing up some of your brain power, and it's going to be there constantly. And if that's increasing, so the chance of getting a parking ticket, that will kind of increase the amount of energy that it's going to take away and attention that's going to take away from you. So try and sort out anything that's pulling on you and either sort it, or if you've just got a lot of things going on, a lot of work tasks, if you've got to be sharp, if you've got the time, write a list of anything that pops into your mind, and somehow the brain is more likely to relax if you know you've written them down, so that, because the brain is constantly thinking you might forget this important thing, but if you've written a list, it will chill out a bit, it will relax and stop bringing those things up constantly, and so you can have a little bit more attention on the present moment. So a mini meditation, so that quiet few minutes before is good, but if you know some meditation techniques, by all means, if they work for you, follow them. Any kind of spiritual practice is going to be very helpful. And what I would say is once you've had a quiet meditation, just before the meeting, adopt a power stance. So stand up, deep breath, and stretch. Feel like you're Superman. Bring up that energy. Feel the strength that you've got within. And remember that you're going into an environment and you've prepared for going into that environment. So your best self is coming forward. And if you have that kind of inner intention to be strong and alive and awake, you can bring that into that difficult or challenging situation, or situation where you need to be sharp with a lot more capabilities. We often use only a small percentage of what our mind is actually capable of. This power stance, research has shown to actually have a very positive impact on your mood, on your capabilities, the way you talk. Those were a few tips to help you be sharp when you need to be sharp.